Stand by.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, I'm John and Brooke, and you're listening to Locked to the Week Radio, the only show that will let me on the air.
Coast to coast, internet sports talk, Locked of the Week.
Doc Rivers continues to time and time again not get it when it comes to getting. Oh! Let him play!
How Connecticut are you? Are you wearing khakis and a polo?
Regarding Lynch, who cares? What was he going to do today? Was he going to address his supporters? Oh, thank you for the question.
Cap ran through the entire Yankee lineup, but he left out one guy, and his name is Alex Rodriguez.
I like to try and forget about him because.
From Los Angeles, this is Dave in the City, brought to you by Locks of the Week Radio. Now, here's Dave Medina.
Good evening, sports fans, and a pleasure to have you here for the big Wednesday show. Good to have you with us from the Dave in the City studio, Studio 6B, beginning another broadcast evening. Hope you enjoyed our program last night on the WrestleMania 31 preview. What a great show that was. We had John in Greenwich. We had a couple quickies, Umberto's Clam House. We had Ari in Philadelphia and Parcells Falling Out, all collaborating on what was really a hilarious program. If you missed it, go to @DidCal, check out the link, or go to our page, daveinthecity.podbean.com for the latest, or check us out on Stitcher, look for DidCal, and you can find the WrestleMania 31 recap. The WrestleMania 31 podcast preview. It's really good. I would highly recommend checking it out. Even if you don't like wrestling, even if you have no idea who any of these guys are, it's still funny. You will enjoy it. As I said last night, it's half WrestleMania 31 preview and it's half making fun of the WrestleMania 31 preview. So it's a good time. I hope you get to check that out. Tonight on our show, we go back to basics, a regular format. We'll have Tom in New Jersey to give us a preview of the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 rounds this weekend. That starts tomorrow on numerous networks, including CBS and TBS and all those networks. In hour number 1, we'll be joined by our friend Kevin on the Cape for random questions and the third round recap. So we'll talk about what happened last weekend in this hour. So it's an entire basketball-oriented show. We are happy to have you with us, and we'll be happy to have Kevin back to break it all down and talk about the other things here on the show. If you're new to the program, once again, what we do in hour 1 is a feature we call Random Questions. So in addition to the topics of the day, we cover subjects that don't have anything to do with sports. And on Random Questions, you can tweet us at DidCal to ask any question you'd like. And I mean anything. You could ask about what do you recommend for dinner in here in California? What do you recommend for dinner in up over in New England? What is your favorite clam? You can ask questions about movies. We'll do the best we can to answer just about everything. Although we do request that just for the sake of we do express a desire to not get too over the top with the indecency or what is that word? The obscene on the subject matter. Other than that, we pretty much anything's fair game here with Random Questions. So at DidCal, if you want to ask us a question, if you're listening to the podcast the day after, at any point after the fact, you still can ask us a random question. It doesn't matter. We'll just do it on the next show. So you are free to ask us anything you want the whole week, and then we'll tell you about it. We'll give an answer to you, and hopefully it'll be something very entertaining. So we also ask each other questions in this hour. And again, we address the topics of the day too. So we don't completely divest of the sports world in this particular feature, but it's our first hour. And so those of you new to the program, we hope you'll enjoy it. I mean, it's a free-flowing conversation. A lot of programs are that, but we certainly like to do it in a way that's not really commercial, where there isn't some sort of overarching agenda from a corporate entity. That's the way we like to do it. On America's favorite moments in sports talk podcasting.
Do the dance. It's time for random questions. Good stuff. In the city with Kevin on the case.
And here he is, back for another week of random questions, direct from Massachusetts. Here is Kevin on the Cape. Kevin, welcome back to the show. How's it going tonight?
David, how are you? I still don't believe that when you say that. I listen to it. I don't believe that I live in Massachusetts. Very strange.
It doesn't feel like Massachusetts to you?
No, it does. I just never thought I would live in a state that, like, I don't know.
It's like its own state, then?
When
I guess?
When I listen to you say that, I'm like, wow, I do live in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
You're right.
Really hits it home, right?
Weird.
No, I agree. It is. I can imagine that sometimes it must be an out-of-body experience for you.
Absolutely. 100%.
Wow. Well, that's, I mean, it's a nice spot. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, now I've seen pictures of it recently, and I'm like, wow, you live here. Like, this is like, you're on vacation every day. We talked about this before, but man, you really are. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I like the out-of-body experience way you describe it, because I do often long for an out-of-body experience because my body is, in shambles. So it would be nice to be out of my body for a while.
How could you be out of body? How could you be in shambles already? You've only been back from vacation in like a week and a half. What happened there?
Oh, I'm talking about 4 decades. I'm not talking about.
Oh, you mean just overall? Okay, not now, but
overall.
Oh, okay.
38 going on 68.
Yeah. Well, you have definitely.
You don't want to hear the noises that I make when I get out of bed in the morning. It's pretty scary.
Well, that's unsavory, I guess is the word. Oh, you know what? It's funny. I forgot to turn on the studio mode tonight for our podcast on YouTube. So YouTubers, we are sorry you're gonna get the slightly lesser quality audio tonight. My fault. There's actually a studio mode on Google Hangouts now, so it will allow for the full bandwidth, like the full fidelity of what you normally would hear on the podcast audio feed, and it's too bad because we did it last night and it sounds tremendous, but here I forgot to turn it on, so you'll be hearing. It'll sound kind of like an internet radio stream, about 64 kilobytes per second. So not almost as good, kind of like satellite radio. It's like you can tell, okay, it's stereo, but it's not like CD quality. You know what I mean? It's close, but it's not quite there.
Technical portion of the program was brought to you by PC Richard and Son.
Can you tell the difference? I guess you can. I guess most people can. I think if you're just listening on your computer, laptop speakers, you're not even going to know the difference. You wouldn't even realize that happened. But if you put on headphones,
I think, honestly, only because it's a strange thing. I was thinking about this the other day. I think people your age and younger can tell the difference because they've had more of the different quality and the new quality, where it's a weird little gap where I think everything sounds the same. I was listening to like music on my iPad just last night, and my girlfriend, who is more on your age side, was like, that sounds terrible. You have to plug it into this and that. You have to do that. And you have to listen to this thing in my speakers. I'm like, sounds the same to me. And she's like, no, it's way better this way. And it sounded the same to me the entire time.
Really? Well, boy, so you are far from an audiophile. So you probably could hear this tonight and then compare it to last night. You wouldn't even think much of it. You'd barely think, it still sounds good either way. So, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the moron who goes to some friend's house. He's like, isn't this great HD watching? I mean, it looks the same. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Wow. I used to get so mad at people like that because I'm a big HD TV guy. I was even bigger like CNF for technology in those days, like 10, 15 years ago, I was like, how could people even people conceive of this not making a difference? And it's like people just don't really sense the difference. It just doesn't matter. Like it's not a priority. So I recognize it now, but I certainly would not agree. But I just think that it's not a big deal to a lot of people. So all right, fair enough.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's more of it. Maybe it's not that they don't sense the difference. It's that it's just like, okay, I'm just here to watch. I just want to watch the Red Sox in peace. Leave me alone. I don't care that I can see the blades of grass better than they could 10 years ago.
I mean, it is a big difference now, though. Like, I think if you went back to regular TV, though, you would realize what a big difference it is. Because I think not all of us have acclimated to HD.
Definitely notice it when you catch those, ESPN classics. The '86 World Series. You could if you compared it to last year's World Series, of course you know the difference. But when I'm watching an old show of the '86 World Series, I don't really care that it doesn't come in clear. I'm looking at Bill Buckner missing the ground ball. Like I don't care that it's not clearer than Madison Bumgarner last year. Taking over the world. It's sports. I don't really. You're looking for the achievements. I don't really care about how clear it is.
All right. Well, no, I mean, I think ultimately it is about the story. And so the story, however you can get it, is ultimately what you remember. I mean, it's always better to get it in a higher quality, but having the story, but the story is still the story, even if you saw it through black and white. I mean, I don't think it necessarily diminishes what happened on the field that day. Is Don Larson's perfect game?
Right, yeah, even if you heard it on the radio, you still have your moments and your feelings of the story.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get that. I think the distinction comes to where you are. If you are watching it on TV, there's a definite difference and a tangible difference because you're actually with other people to being in the stadium with the other people watching it happen. So even if you're that's a bigger difference. And that's one that's...
Yeah, it's a very good...
Yeah. I mean, those are moments you really don't forget. Like, I think... Here's something I want to ask you right off the top. Okay, so this is... March Madness is underway. So, obviously, some very iconic moments are in the making. Some we've seen already. But as far as sports altogether, what is the greatest sports moment, the most memorable sports moment you witnessed in person at the stadium?
That's ridiculous because that's the exact same question I was going to ask you tonight.
Oh, nice.
I feel like you're reading my mind, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength tonight. Yep.
That's a terrific question, and I never went to a lot of games growing up. We didn't have that much money, so I don't know going to a Mets game was like once a year, huge kind of thing, and it was usually a terrible game. And forget about the Giants; that was like an every 4 or 5 year thing. So I never witnessed a lot of games growing up. We never went to the. So it was more of later in life, I guess, when I had some money of my own. So this isn't an actual. Well, it is a sporting event, obviously. It's a baseball game, and there was a great dramatic moment at the end. But the most memorable experience I had with my friends in a sporting venue was going to the first Mets game after 9/11, and hitting the home run, and the president, and security everywhere, and we were living in Yonkers at the time, which you don't know from being out there, but Yonkers is very close. Yonkers is basically right above the Bronx. It's the next city there, so we're pretty close to Manhattan, and it was just one of those things where we got home from work the night before, and someone said, "Hey, we have tickets. You want to go?" And there was a legitimate conversation on our front porch, drinking beers, smoking cigars, going. Half the people were like, "I don't want to go there. Someone's going to attack," because it was so fresh and so like on your brain. And some guys were like, no, let's go. You know, one of my roommate was a New York City fireman, the other was a New York City cop. He's like, no, we're going. Screw those guys. We have to go. Half these people weren't even Mets fans. It wasn't even they were going because they wanted to see the Mets. It was like the first sporting event in New York after 9/11. And so, you know, just got up and next day, and we had six. I think it was six of us. There were six of us in the house, and then two other guys. We had 8 tickets, and went down there, and the security was crazy. And you got in there, and it was just it wasn't a baseball game. It was so weird. Everybody was in the beginning. Everyone was sad and straight faced, and then they did everything, and you had the Mets. You know, they were wearing Bobby Valentine of all people is who I'm picturing, which is funny. But everybody wearing FDNY hats and NYPD hats and all that kind of stuff, and then Mike Piazza just did what he does and put a smile on everyone's face, and that was pretty memorable as far as being in an arena for an event.
That's a great moment. I mean, it was a great moment, period. I remember a lot of people talking about that Mike Piazza game, and certainly a lot of drama, a lot of emotion on that night. And to be there for that, well, that's tremendous. I mean, what a spot to be in. And you could sort of sense that something serious was going to happen. And fortunately for all of us, it was serious in a positive way. And that's really cool. I think that's a great moment, and I think that's one you'll cherish for quite some time. So that's pretty cool. That's a good one. Okay, so my answer. All right. Well, I'm pretty charmed. I've been in the building for a lot of big moments. I mean, nothing like, you know, like Game 7, game-winning shot in the NBA Finals or anything like that. But 2 moments that stand out to me. And I know I should do one, but if I'm going to do one, I'll do last year's Game 7 with Anaheim Kings versus the Ducks, where the Kings completely dominated that game. I think that one is a favorite of mine. Was it the best? Was it the most iconic moment? I mean, it was a big moment. It was a pretty big moment. I remember that pretty well. I tell you what, in terms of iconic moments, and it's kind of odd to even go this way because you already know that there was a championship in hand, but being inside Staples to watch the Kings tie the series where they were down 0-3. Junkman, remember, the only team that's really done that sort of thing is the Red Sox and in baseball.
Right.
And so to do that in hockey is just as rare. I mean, it's less rare, but not by much. Like, there were only like 3 other teams that did it. And the Kings were on their way to becoming the 4th. And the pivotal moment I was in the building for. Game 6 against San Jose last year, the quarterfinal round. And, you know, you could start to sense a little bit of momentum. And there's a lot of nervousness in the building. I mean, I was chatting with some other Kings fans who were like, man, you guys nervous for this? And yeah, absolutely. But, you know, if we get it, this could change not only the series, but it could change the whole season. So you're playing this game that night, and I think you even had a point where San Jose tied the game, and so there was a lot of nervousness in the building. But then when the Kings finally took a lead and then extended the lead, boy, that was exciting. I mean, everybody in the crowd was just jumping up and down at the end of it. It was an amazing game. It was by chance that I found a ticket for sale for that game. It wasn't even that much. I just went out to I believe, if I remember this correctly, I went up to the window to get a ticket for the game as the game was starting because I couldn't find. I was just saying, well, let's just see if the prices in StubHub go down as I go to the arena, and they never really did, but they were reasonable enough where I thought maybe I'd have a chance at the ticket window just walking up. I walked up and I got a ticket, and I went inside the building to watch that game, and it was just me, but I was surrounded by other Kings fans, so I made friends there, and it was amazing. Like that game. I just remember that was like the turning. I think Game 5 they dominated over San Jose, but it was just one of those deals where it's like, well, the Kings get a little closer, but it was right at Game 6 when you got a really tangible sense that they could win the series, and that really set the tone for the rest of the playoffs. And then they did it again. They went to Game 7 against the Ducks. They did it again. They went to Game 7 against Chicago. Went to overtime, and then Alec Martinez. Is that right? Wait, I better double check that. I think it was, though. It's kind of weird because it was like Alec Martinez off a deflection or something like that. But anyway, the point of that is They won that game in overtime too, and the Kings went to the final. They played the Rangers, and then they won that one in 5 games with an overtime win 3-2. And Alec Martinez did score the game winner in that for sure. And you remember the jazz hands and all that. But anyway, that's amazing, right? All that because of one moment in Game 6 where they tied a series after being down 0-3. Now, Junkie, seeing it on TV is unbelievable. The moment where you're at home and you tie a series like that. Just imagine what it would be like to be in the building for a moment of that caliber. Can you imagine it? It was good stuff.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're at the place right now where I was like 10, 15 years ago. You know, you're single, you got some money, you can go to these games, and I was in New York, you're in LA, so you're in a city that's got a lot of teams, there's a lot of options. So you can you go to a lot of games, nothing. Sometimes they're duds, but all of a sudden you're going to get this gem that you can't, or it was, like you said, it was a fluke. You just went there and you got a ticket. I went. One of the last years I was in New York was the last year the Mets were in the playoffs, and we went to, like, randomly, friends called and said, "I have tickets." I think it was Game 2, when they were playing the Dodgers, and it was just amazing. Just people, just energy is unbelievable in those big cities with, just emotion on every pitch and every at bat, every play in hockey. Hockey is just a totally different animal, but just those kind of events. That's the kind of one thing that probably would say I'd miss from being in a big city, because you always have that. It's there. You don't have to go to the game, but you can if you want to. You can figure out a way to get there. And like I said, where you live and where I used to live, you have 6, 8 teams. So at some point you're going to get to a situation where buddy's got a ticket, or you got a way to get a ticket. Maybe you pay a little extra, but you have this kind of community with tens of thousands of people who are just rooting for the same thing. And like you said, you went by yourself, but you made friends there. Everyone's laughing, talking about the game. They all have vested interest in what's going on, and that's very exciting. That's one of the great things about sports.
Absolutely. And the spontaneity of a moment like that is what sells living in a city. Just pretty much what you said. The fact that you can do things like this on short notice. You cannot do this when you live in the suburbs. You can't do it when you live in another state. So
no,
I cherish moments like that. It's pretty awesome. Absolutely. I tell you what, let me ask you this. Okay, so it's a related question. What's the best meal you've had? Where you don't have to be like all time, but just like, what's the best meal you've had lately where you were like, this meal is outstanding. Like, you knew it the moment you ate it, and like, this is a great plate of food. Like, did you have that wow moment with eating out, or even something you cooked at home recently?
Actually, yeah. And this was the Friday before we went on our vacation a couple weeks ago, and so we're flying at some ridiculous hour, like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, out of Providence. And I don't know if you know anything about Providence, but Providence has a very small but a very vibrant Italian community. It's called Federal Hill. It's sort of like this version of the South, kind of a grittier version of the North End in Boston. And we knew we were staying, because we were flying out of Providence, so we knew we were staying at that hotel. So I mentioned in passing to my lady about Atwell's Avenue, which is just the street in Providence, which it's got, at any point you can go to 10, 15 different Italian restaurants that are just out of this world. And she found one. She's a younger person like yourself, so she relies a lot on the internet reviews and things like that. So she did her research and found one that, it was funny because when she mentioned it, I knew exactly what it was. I've heard about it. We went there, and it was February 28th, I think. It was the last Friday or whatever it was. Freezing cold. But the whole Atwell's Avenue's packed. It's bumper to bumper traffic. I found a parking garage, and you give the guy 20, and he gives you breath mints, and he takes care of he said, "I'll watch your car." He's talking I can't do the Italian accent, so I'm not going to try. but don't worry about it. You walk going to this restaurant. He knows the guy. He knows this guy. If you need anything, let me know. And then you go in there and you wait a little while. The place is packed, and then we just sat all the way in the back, which is really cool. And people just having a good time. And we ordered wine and appetizer stuff, but I had this. They make homemade pasta right there, and that's what you got to do. Everyone's looking at all different things on the menu. And I'm like, everybody just needs to get pasta and just pick your different thing. Everyone's trying everyone's different plates. And I was protecting my plate with my life because I didn't want anyone to have any of it. But I shared a little of it, and it was terrific. It was. The wine was good. The waitress was new, so she was a little scattered. But I ordered a martini, Dave. I probably drank 3 martinis in my whole life, but I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, John Gotti in the corner or something, having a blast. So that was my last really memory. It was everyone looks good because everyone, it's Friday night and everyone's sort of dressed up. The other people, everyone's sort of checking each other out. It was fun. It was like I said before about being in New York. It was kind of the stuff you miss. I know Providence is not a big city, but there was an energy in the place. Everyone was dressed well and smelled nice and that kind of stuff. So it was a good experience overall from beginning to end.
Boy, that's legit, man. I love an Italian restaurant that can go all in that fashion. The guy that's pretty cool. That's a good experience, man. Nice going. That's great. And so we'll check that. We should check that out next time I'm out that way. Even in New York City, I'm sure there'd be Italian restaurants. If not, better or as good as what you experienced last night. But that's tremendous. A quality experience in a nice town. Providence, Rhode Island. Good stuff. All right. So for me, and I think I already talked about this, but I'm sorry again to those of you who heard this before, but Fogo de Chao a few weeks ago. Man, that was number 1. Dude, that was such a good meal. That blew me away how good it was. The quality of the meats. I had it before too, and I'm like, this is amazing. I was just going after it. I didn't spend too much time with the salad bar this time. Went over and had all kinds of cuts. The picanha was great. The filet mignon was great. The rib was great. The chicken was great. The little cheese balls were great. Everything just hit home. And there were, over a dozen cuts. Over a dozen different types of meat, types of cut of the meat, and it all just melted in your mouth. It was so good. And that was just one where I just said, listen, I got $50 from Christmas. Let's just make it happen. We did it, and it was a good time. So that the people there that were serving all the good dishes over at Fogo, amazing. An amazing, captive, receptive, and just incredibly nice people over at Fogo de Chao. And the last anecdote about the place, in my reservation request, it said special requests. What do you usually do? You do that? Do you tinker around with special requests with an online form? Because you got to take advantage of that, because you never know what could happen. I'll give you an example. In the special request, I wrote, do you have any cookies? So you got any cookies? That was my request. So I wrote cookies in the box, and I'm saying, what are they going to do with it?
They have on the menu, you can request something?
No, it's in the reservation request. So like when you reserve a table online, you can make a request.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So special request. Yeah. So, that's designed for people who are like, well, I want to sit by the window, or I want to sit in a specific spot, or I'd like to have such and such served with a meal, or I need a wet towel, things like that. But I wrote cookies because I was like, let's see how they respond to cookies. So I went over there, and at the end of the meal, the guy comes up to me. His name is Josh, and he says, "Sir, we got a real kick out of your request for cookies. Unfortunately, we don't have any, but we had a good laugh out of that, and we want to hook you up anyway." So what they did, they brought out this molten chocolate lava cake. Oh my goodness, it was so good. It was so good. That is an excellent compromise. I'm like, wow, you guys over exceeded my expectations. I was blown away how good that was. And I'm like, guys, I can't thank you enough. And everybody in the restaurant was talking to me about the cookies request. Like, yeah, you really had to ask for the cookies. Like, we thought that was so funny. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'm just, trying to exert some humor. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was funny too. So, cookies, right? Ask for cookies wherever you go. Let's see what, and then you never know. Like, maybe you'll get a nice dessert out of it. And I laid out a huge tip. I mean, enormous, like double what I normally would tip, because that was just great. That's a serious solid. Those desserts cost like $12. It's like, I had to do it. I think that was the least I could do for such a great benefit. So, truly a great experience. And I might do it again pretty soon, because there's a $25 off email I got, which means that the price of it would be under $40, which is just unheard of for a Fogo de Chao. Highly recommended. Like I mentioned that to you a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, how about it, huh?
That's a terrific example of customer service going above and beyond. They could have looked at that request and said, "This guy's an office rocker. Just screw him." But someone read it and said, "Hey, this is something we don't see every day. Let's make it, let's do something fun." So that's a good sign. It's good to know there's still some people out there in the service industry that aren't jaded about annoying requests to different things, and they kind of make a positive spin out of it. They could have just said, "This idiot doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's give him an Oreo and break it on his face." No.
That's funny.
They took it seriously, and then that's a good place. That's a place you want to go back to. That's a place you don't mind giving your money, hard-earned money, to, and a little extra at the end of the night. There's certain places where you go and you're like, "Holy cow, I can't believe I just gave that person, that company, a quarter of my paycheck this week." That place, you go back to that place and you tell your friends and you tell your people who listen to you. So goes a long way. I think a lot of people in the service industry, some people are great. Some people kind of forget that it's worth going the extra mile, for even if it's a weird request, as long as it's not rude, as long as it's not insulting. If it's funny, if it's in either good humor or from a good place, try to fulfill it the best you can.
That's really cool, man. And I agree. I mean, the service that sticks with you, and I intend to come back. It said now the offer is good until the end of the month. I have a swim meet coming up on Sunday, so I can't do it anytime before that. So it will be Sunday night, and I just hope that Josh is there for that shift. I will call the place and ask if Josh will be serving that night, because if he is, that's going to be quite a post game.
I think on your next reservation in your special request, you should just write Josh.
Nah, that's decent, but I should confirm that he'll actually be there. And so cookies plus Josh.
Right, you put cookies in there because then they'll remember you, and then
that's good. Yeah, they will remember
cookies. Tell Josh to say what's up. Thanks, man.
Absolutely, it would be my pleasure. He was tremendous too. I mean, not only just all that stuff, but it was incredibly attentive service. And I think you know about the water test, right? Like, the water test is the easiest barometer because service is so many different things. It's a lot of levels, but the glass of water is the easiest thermometer of how good the service is. So you get your glass of water, and this is an interesting comment based on the drought we're having right now. I heard somewhere that you can't even get water unless you specifically ask for it now because they're concerned about the drought. I don't know if that's really true or they're just trying to save money, but it's probably somewhere in between. Anyway, assuming all other things are equal, you get a glass of water when you get your meal wherever you go. The true test of the good customer service at a restaurant is how quickly that glass of water gets refilled. If that glass of water gets down to the bottom, then they're slacking. That's basically it. But if the service is exceptional, they will never let that happen. So just look at where the glass is at the halfway point. Right?
There's a job. It's usually a bus boy or something like that, but in certain places like that who have exceptional customer service, there is a person specifically designed, I don't know if designed is the right word, but who has that picture within arm's length and is supposed to scan that room for anything that's half full and should be there to fill it up. I agree with you. Because you want to do that. I think you also want to do that in restaurants because you don't want people to get hammered and drive home and wreck a tree. You want to give people. You don't almost force them to drink water. Like, listen,
Smart,
take a breath between your vodka tonic and have a glass of water. It's not just about. There's nothing bad. There's no negative about drinking more water. Hey, maybe you have to pee more, but that's only for us older guys. You fill that glass up. You see another person working. There's no negative about it. It also adds to the whole customer service experience. You see someone, you can ask the kid, "Hey, what are you looking at your menu? You filling up your water. What do you eat when you're here?" And he tells you, "Oh, I like the calamari, whatever." It adds to the whole experience of the night. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's always interesting to see how it goes, but you're always rooting for that glass to be filled. And so some people say, "Oh, the glass is half full." In this case, it can never be half full because it always starts off full. It doesn't start empty. It started full in the context of the restaurant. So when the glass is half full, it's not when a glass is half full, it's actually half empty because it means that you drank half of it. And now it is up to the rest of the restaurant to complete the filling of the glass of water. That's key. But
that's more of a philosophical question.
It is, but here it's pretty empirical. I think it's pretty obvious that it can only be half full if you filled it up from. I guess you're right. There's philosophy in there. Good point.
I'm a real estate. I don't think it's a half full or half empty. I just think it's a half a glass of water.
Well, it's right, but you can't drink backwards. Like you have to drink it only down. So the restaurant has the responsibility of filling up the rest of the glass so that you can have a complete dining experience. Anyway, it's a good topic, and staying on that subject to a degree, the coffee mug actually is assessed the same way, except that in my case, I have more of a mixed emotion about it because when you get coffee, you want to put a little bit of cream in it or some milk or non-fat or whatever it is.
Totally different. Totally different. Totally. And also because of the obvious reason that you can't see the coffee if you're a waiter. The glass of the water is clear. The coffee mug is not.
Right. Right. So I can't use that.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It is completely different. Like, I don't think that a restaurant is failing if they're not refilling the mug all the time. I don't even want them to do that because I'm like, if you keep refilling it that constantly, you're messing up the composition of the coffee.
Right. People are very, very particular about their coffee.
Oh, yeah.
You would like them to come by every 10 minutes and say, "Would you, do you need any more?" But you don't want it to just fill it without you giving the go-ahead.
Absolutely. And so I have to, it's a little bit of a challenge, not a huge challenge, but it's a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out what point I do that. I don't really put much thought into it. I'm like, okay, it's fairly empty. Let's ask for some more coffee. And then I get the coffee and then I'll put back the cream and mix it up again. So it works out fine, but certainly I'm not using the same principles that we do with the water. It's totally different because water is usually in the same state the whole time. Coffee's not because you're putting something else in it. So it's fun to think about it, but definitely two different things. Even though they have the same idea, like you refill it and it's liquid, but it's not. It's an apples to oranges comparison. Kevin on the Cape is with us tonight. We're in our random questions hour. This is hour one of the program. If you're interested in the hardcore NCAA talk, that's coming up in hour two, just 20 minutes away with our friend Tom in New Jersey, assuming all is scheduled correctly. He shall join us about that time, and we'll hand off to him to break down what happened over the weekend in college basketball. And we'll also talk about what will happen in this weekend on the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 rounds. I'm not very excited about these rounds. It's some good matchups. Junkman, as far as college basketball.
You look very excited on your preview. I saw you destroy your paper.
Yeah.
That was very emotional. That was very good. I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
I didn't realize you were left-handed.
I am left-handed. I'm ambidextrous actually. I write with the right hand, but I throw with the left. So that's where that.
Which I noticed immediately only because only left-handed people notice other left-handed people.
Oh, interesting.
Right-handed people don't care. This looks normal to them. But when being a supreme, ridiculous, absurd left-handed person like myself, whose right arm is basically useless, when I see left-handed people, you notice it immediately. So something that is just for us, 9% of the world are left-handed that we notice.
That's a good eye. It really is that you picked up on that. Now I'm going to tell you this. That was acting. That was totally acting. Now what I did.
Good acting, though, David. Hollywood's rubbing off on you. That was good acting. You
Thank you very much.
It was the perfect amount of time. It was long enough for me to be interested but not be bored.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it was perfect. I was impressed.
Thanks, buddy. So my bracket's doing pretty well actually. I've got my entire Final Four still intact, and that's amazing when you think about all the upsets we had this past weekend.
That's all you want. That's all you want in all my years of doing those pools. That's all you want after that first weekend is to have your Final Four still intact.
Absolutely. Now you didn't do a bracket this year, which is too bad because I could have asked how yours did this weekend. Most people didn't do great, but certainly if you got the big team still in it, that's a good get. My title team is still in play. My runner-up team is still in play. And you know who I picked for the runner-up team? You won't believe it. I don't know. I'm not even going to tell you. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not even going to bring it up. But the Final Four is still intact. So there you have it. Okay, Junkie, I'm going to make this even sweeter. All right. If the entire Final Four gets in, I would like to send you a token of my appreciation to Max Seafood, like something sweet, maybe literally sweet, maybe a gift like a chocolate basket or something like that. I don't know, whatever you want. I will send you a token of my appreciation. You can even pick it if you want. I will send something sweet.
I don't eat chocolate.
Come again? Yeah, you don't eat chocolate. You're right.
I don't eat chocolate.
You don't eat chocolate. That's true. It didn't have to be like edible, but I can. I just want to do it. Like I'd be so happy.
Maybe a Jahlil Puig jersey. That'd be cool.
You would really want a Jahlil Puig jersey? Boy, is that cool? Is that cool? I'll do it. I'm gonna do it. I'll send the Junkman a Jahlil Puig jersey. On one condition though, you have to take a picture of yourself in the jersey, maybe front and back.
I think I would look pretty good in Dodger blue.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. I think it would be a great look on the Junkman. So, will you do it? If they all get in, I'll send you a Jahlil Puig jersey, front and back. Maybe have your lady take the picture or what have you. You can even put her in it if you want, but you don't have to do that. But let's get a pic of the Junkman in the Jahlil Puig jersey, just as a sort of a symbol of like success. It'll be good.
I don't watch as much sports as obviously you know off the top of your head. What is he, 19? What is his number?
66. Just like WFAN.
66.
I'm serious.
Oh, that seems better. Oh, that's terrific.
Isn't that not cool? That's cool, isn't it?
I didn't even realize it. That's a strange number, but I didn't even realize that. That's even better for board purposes. Me in a 66 jersey.
It's the best. So I'm tweeting this now. Junkie will receive a Jahlil Puig Dodgers jersey if Dave's entire Final Four prediction comes true, and I will. I'm going to.
Will I do that?
Oh, don't tweet it. No,
no. I will do something more than just wear it and take a picture of it. I'll like wear it at work, or we'll figure something out.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Or we'll wear it to find some ridiculous Rollins, Tommy meetup in Jersey, and I'll wear it to that. Something. I have to do something way better than just taking a picture of it in my apartment.
Well, yeah, I mean, do a video of you doing something with it. Serving fish, throwing fish around would be kind of cool, take it back.
Which is even more amazing. Yeah, this is even a cooler bet because I've never worn. I mean, not never, but I haven't worn a jersey of an athlete since I was a child. So there's no pictures exist of me wearing a jersey of anyone. So that's pretty cool. I'm in. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. This is great. This is simply great. Unfortunately, now that we've made this proposition, it's probably not going to happen. But we need to document this in the podcast so that we can prove. So otherwise, I could just make it up. And I did make these predictions about a week ago in the NCAA tournament preview with Chris in Syracuse and John in Connecticut. But I will recap those.
Yeah, I listened to that.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you got the prediction. Okay, but we will repeat them here.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't John and Chris both have Iowa State?
Yes, they did. And I warned them. I was like, I don't know, guys. I don't know about this one, but and it's crazy. That's a very.
Not only was it crazy, it crapped out on like 4:00 on Thursday. It was like the first game.
I was shocked, man. No, seriously, this is a good team. I was amazed that they lost that game. It was just like John said after it on Twitter. John in Connecticut, he said, if they played UAB like 12 times, they'd win 11 of the 12 times. And it was just so fluky that they lost this one.
That's what the NCAA tournament's about. You can say that about if Kentucky loses, the first thing people are going to say is if they played insert team here 9 times out of 10 they would win. But these aren't 7-game series like the pros. This is why it's one and done. This is why Kentucky's not a lock. This is why Villanova craps out in the second game. This is why Iowa State craps out. You're right. If they played a team 9 out of 10 times, an inferior team, they would probably win 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. But it's one game. These guys are. That's what people don't realize that. Just watch the games and stuff. They don't realize, West Virginia. Those kids on West Virginia who are playing Kentucky, they played on all those best AAU teams. They're not scared of Kentucky. Sure, they're not as talented, but they've been in so many situations where they've shown up in a gym and they've looked across the court and they're like, holy crap, these guys are big, these guys are really athletic. But you know what? I grew up here, I played against this guy, I played against that, and they're not scared of them at this point. If West Virginia wins, I wouldn't be surprised. If Arizona, these guys are all terrific, terrific players, and they've played against guys, and especially now with AAU and all these travel teams, they've seen tons of talent, and every once in a while, they come out on top. So that's why the NCAA tournament is brilliant, because it's this one and done. It's very dramatic. Any team in the country, if you put in a 7-game series, Kentucky would win. And I'd bet my life on it. But it's not a 7-game series. It's one.
Yeah, and that is simply the beauty of it, isn't it? I mean, it really keeps everybody on their toes. Everybody's on their toes. I mean, sometimes you got teams looking over their shoulder, like Georgetown going, oh, no, not again. Yeah, Villanova going, oh, not again. They've only won one game in every tournament they've been in since 2009. That is awful. And they were 1 seed this year. I mean, there's a lot of disappointments to be had. There were a lot of disappointments to be had last weekend. So, but that's, like you said, that's the beauty of it. It's like, you got to really be on your toes. You've got to have your A game in order to really make the big move towards the Final Four, to win a championship. It's not easy, and you can't overlook a team at all, or you're done. You're literally out. That's awesome. That's why it's so exciting.
Absolutely.
So, as long as we're at it, of the 16 teams, let's get your predictions as we segue to our friend Tommy a little later on tonight. I want to hear of the teams that we have on the table, and I'll give them to you if you need a recapper. But of the teams left on the table, this is the easy part. Like, who do you see in the Final Four, part 1? So we'll start with that. Okay. So who are your Final Four teams from from the 4 regions? Based on what we have now.
I have no idea what the matchups are, Dave.
Okay, so I'll give it to you. Okay. So you have, let me just, Midwest. You have Kentucky, West Virginia, Notre Dame, and Wichita State. Those are the 4 teams. Who comes out of that?
Kentucky.
Okay, so Junkman, let me write this down. So Junkie has Kentucky. I mean, who doesn't have Kentucky, right? Everybody has Kentucky. Pretty much anyone that has a bracket has Kentucky, at least in the Final Four. Okay, now we go to the West region. Your teams are Wisconsin, North Carolina, Xavier, and Arizona.
Arizona.
All right, so we have Arizona. And now for the East, you have North Carolina State, Louisville, Oklahoma, or Michigan State.
Say that one more time.
Okay, so NC State, Louisville with Rick Pitino, Oklahoma,
Right.
and Michigan State.
Louisville.
Okay, well, and I think a few people have made that pick. So they are going with Pitino Magic there for Louisville to make the Final Four. Not terrible decision. Okay, and I didn't think they were going to get that far at all. But you know what? That's also the beauty of the tournament. You just never know. Once they got past that first round, I was like, well, they might go places, because I figured if they're going to lose, they'll lose right away. Well, it didn't happen, so props to them. All right, so now for the final region, you have Duke, Utah, UCLA, or Gonzaga. Your team's in there, buddy.
The top one. I'm going to say Gonzaga.
What? You're not taking your Duke Blue Devils? Wow.
No.
Wow. Let's get some reaction and explanation. Not taking your boys, but all right, Junkman, let's hear it. Let's get your argument for Gonzaga in the Final Four.
They got some big white guy I think is pretty good. I don't know his name.
I was laughing so hard at this. Okay. So you have a bunch of centers and big forwards that all have similar names. You're thinking of Karnowski. Am I right?
Am I? I have no idea. I'll take your word for it.
All right. But see, Gonzaga's got Karnowski. Wisconsin has Kaminsky. Arizona has Tarzuski. So there's a lot of skis involved in this year's finals.
So Eastern Europe is taking over the NCAA tournament.
Well, they are in some schools, certainly. And you know what? Going in that direction, I think you have Podol from Austria. I don't know if that's quite Eastern Europe, but he's on Utah. So FYI on that one.
Wow. This Kaminsky's got to be Frank Kaminsky's kid, right? No one else has that name.
Yeah, I think you might be onto that. Let me look that up. That's a great question. I should check. I never thought of that. Oh, Frank Kaminsky. Oh, I know where you're going with that. That's. Oh yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. Am I right?
Well, I got the current Frank Kaminsky, who maybe that's his same name. Let me look this up. Wow, that is a really good question. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the name of his parents are, because Frank Kaminsky is his name. That's the guy that's playing right now. Right. Now what do we have here? I don't have personal life section of the. Geez, that is such a good question. That's Frank Kaminsky.
What are the odds? Big goofy white guy named Frank Kaminsky? It's got to be.
Yeah, man, you killed that. You nailed the name. I can't confirm that right now, but let me see. Hang on just a sec. Frank Kaminsky's father. Let's look it up.
Like 20 years from now, we're wandering around LA and some kid says, and some, big-headed kid with an extra toe says, "Hey, my name is Junkie Jr." You're like, "Oh, it's got to be the guy."
Oh, that's right. I love it. Okay, so here's his official bio page, Frank Kaminsky on the Badgers website, and personal information is as follows. Parents are Frank and Mary Kaminsky. So so they both have the same name. So it's like Frank Jr. or Frank, in this case, Frank the Third. Nice going, Chuck, man. Good job. Good stuff. Good guess too. But that was well played. Wow. Good job. I wish I could send you some cookies for that or something, but I don't.
That's right.
Maybe another time. Speaking of cookies, oh my goodness, this is outrageous. Did you know that Oreo now has a bacon and cream cookie? They have a bacon filling cookie. There's like bacon bits in the Oreo. That is outrageous.
I don't know anything about that, but tonight I was driving around, and restaurants put their little chalkboard signs out, on the street.
Yeah.
I passed one, and I thought of you instantaneously. The sign and it was a pizza place, but I didn't go in. I thought about you immediately. It said fried Oreos.
Ooh. That's awesome.
I don't even know what that tastes like, which is weird because, it's March on the Cape. Most places aren't even open, let alone are doing weird things like that. So I may have to check it out just to report to you what it was. But I was like, I actually drove and I turned around to drive back to make sure I read the sign correctly. Fried Oreos. So they're deep frying Oreos, but I don't know why they're doing that. It was weird. I thought if Dave had driven past that, he would have gone in and bought and spent the $5.
Well, are you ready for me? You ready to have your mind blown right now? I've had fried Oreos.
Yeah.
Now, how about that?
Really? So this
yes,
is the thing.
I have. I was at the Orange County Fair, and I'll tell you what it is. This is
the thing that's just reaching outer limits of the Cape.
Yeah.
I'm probably behind the times, actually.
Yep, it's a true story, Junkie, and it's what it really is. It's a donut. Basically, it's a donut because it's battered heavily. It's just like a fried donut with an Oreo in the middle, but it's fried such that it's kind of like a big old piece of chicken that's got a lot of batter on it, a lot of batter. So if you ever, or think of it like, you ever have fish and chips, right? So it's like fish and chips, but instead of fish, you got an Oreo in there. So think of it that way.
That sounds disgusting.
It's not. I would say give it a chance. Give it a go. It may not be battered as much where you are. It just depends on where you go, but it's a basic idea.
I'm not going to give it a chance.
You're done? You're not going to try it anymore?
No, I'm done.
Oh, gosh. What have I done? I should have waited for you to try it and then make that make those conclusions and observations. Oh, well, I messed it up. What? Okay, here's a random question, a very random question. Name something fried you haven't eaten yet, but you want to. So, like, what would you like to have? What would you like to eat that happens to be fried, but you've never tried it yet? So, and they literally will fry anything. They would probably fry pencils if that was edible.
Yeah, I mean, all pencils are probably safe to eat.
Might be more fiber.
Stick them in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That lead isn't poisonous anymore.
Right. It's graphite now.
When we were kids, that lead was definitely poisonous, but not anymore.
Mm. Yeah, that was
something that's deep fried. I would like to eat. See, I don't eat deep fried anything. So
I know. That's part of the challenge. Like, I'm wondering, is there anything that you would consider eating that happens to be fried at this moment?
Just because I'm a huge fan of our friend the pig, and his glorious nature and all things pig-like, I would, one of my favorite dishes at home is, pork chops, but I've never had a deep fried pork chop. I don't even know if that's done, but I would eat that. I'd be interested in what that would taste like, only because I've loved it in all of its forms, but I've never had it that way. So I'd be interested in trying that.
Well, pork chops are fried to start with. Like, they're pan fried. But to deep fry it and put a heavy batter on it, that'd be a whole new ball game. Let me know the results. One thing I would say though, if you do try that, it would almost have to be a thick pork chop. You can't do that with a thin pork chop because it would dry it out, don't you think?
Oh, it's got to be an inch and a half at least.
Yeah, it's got to be a big old pork chop. Like you gotta get some meat on that thing. But if you do, boy, you're in for a treat.
I've been in plenty of kitchens. I know exactly how hot those things are. That thing needs to be thick and huge.
Beauty. Yeah. So good advice from Kevin on the Cape. Oh, that's a good choice. A deep fry. I mean, because it starts fried to start, but this is just basically, like you said, taking it up a few notches. So you're really making it, putting it into another level. So I totally.
You would love our invention from maybe 5-6 years ago that has taken our little Oyster Fest by storm. We have the Oyster Fest is a small town kind of festival, but we have our own booth there, and it's got to be a long time, 6 years ago now. One of our owners and I invented the Sea Dog, which is a deep fried lobster tails on a stick.
Oh, that's good. Ooh, that is.
Which the prep of making it is a complete nightmare, but you charge $20 for lobster tails on a stick and make a fortune for this weekend, and they are an absolute huge hit. But we only make them for that festival. We don't make them in any other location, in any other market, and any other time. So they sort of created their own little following for them. Oh, right. I mean, you keep them wanting more. It's pretty brilliant, actually. Nicely done. That sounds great, by the way. Do you sell little cups of butter? You can dip them in the butter? Yeah, absolutely. It's a pain in the ass because, you have to completely undercook the lobster, and then because you're going to deep fry it later, so you don't want it to make it overcooked and disgusting. So you have to cook them really lightly just to kind of kill the lobster, and then take the meat out, and then do the whole stick thing. But so the prep thing takes like 4 or 5 days. It's a pain in the ass, but the result was very popular. So I can't really send you that. I have to fly you out here for the Oyster Fest for you to experience it. You would get a kick out of that. I would, man. Dave, with a video camera following him around at the Oyster Fest would be a huge hit. It's interesting. Kappa suggested that I start eating things on the air, like start eating things in YouTube videos and make that like a separate part of this channel, like add it to the channel feed, like just do a video of me like eating an Oreo or something silly like that, or trying new on video here, and then just put it on YouTube and see if anybody watches it. It sounds silly, but it's something I've really honestly thought about. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'd have fun with that, and hopefully other people would too. But you would be amazed how much traffic that gets. Just a guy eating, like, I'm going to eat like chili fries, and that gets like a huge rating. It's like, wow, really? It's like, but it works. Like, I watch it, I'm into it. So clearly there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of interest in food. So would you find that completely ridiculous? I wouldn't watch you sitting at your desk eating something, but I would watch you, going around to like a street vendor or a food truck and interacting with the people, and maybe like going in the food truck and seeing how they make it and then eating it. I would totally watch something like that. Get sort of more of an inside look at the prep and the ingredients, and then your reaction to the food. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't watch you sitting, opening a bag at your apartment and then eating the food. People watch that. It's amazing. No, I dig though. But I would be more in you like asking them, hey, so how do you make that? You cook that how long? Why do you put that in there? What kind of flavor is that? Right. And then you eat it, and then you give your review. I would watch that totally. Gotcha. Yeah, and I would ultimately, that's the show that I like to do that too. Like to add that as part of the experience. I think the only thing is that show's been done already. Like there are a lot of people doing that already. It's kind of interesting, and going out there and
traveling, and I'd love to do it, but I just think I could experiment with it a couple times. We'll see where it goes. But I'm like, is this going to get an audience? Because there are already well-known people who do that. But there are well-known people who eat food too. So it's just kind of like, you would think that that's redundant, but people enjoy it. I think what sells is the individual personality behind it. And I certainly won't argue with that. I think people would, believe it or not, be really interested. You would be one of many people who would be intrigued at how I would react, let's say, if I went to the OC Fair and tried dragon's ears, which I haven't had in such a long time. You ever have a dragon's ear?
No, I have not.
It's a confection, like some sort of a fried. It's always fried. I mean, if it's at the fair, it's fried. Okay, so I mean, it's not like they either fry things or they barbecue things. There isn't healthy food. They don't have like rotisserie chicken. They don't have like vegetables. Like it's fried shit. It's just pretty much what it is. Like I don't even know what the other stuff's for. It's like the people go to the fair primarily to eat really lousy food and then maybe take in a concert. So ultimately, that's the goal. So if you've ever been, give it a go. Go to whatever that E thing, Big E. What was that thing called? The Big E over in Massachusetts, whatever that thing is. That fair convention. Anyway. Okay, duly noted. I'm going to take your advice, though. Revive Dining with Dave and do some features of me going to places and checking out the inside scoop. Get an idea of how it's done.
Absolutely. That'd be terrific.
Cool beans. All right, Junkie. Well, thanks very much for entertaining with me this hour. I appreciate it. Enjoy the next round of the tournament. It should be a good time. Good luck to your Final Four. And I will also wish good luck to my Final Four as well. We will see if that Puig jersey comes your way. So stay tuned, everybody.
Absolutely. And if my picks come in, we'll have to send you a big Poppy jersey you can wear.
Oh man, that's going to be wow.
Like one of those deep fried hot dogs or something.
That's a wow. That is a wow. Imagine I could, but you're an honorable man. I'd be happy to take you up on that. Even though I'm not a Red Sox fan, but it would definitely tweak like the Yankee fans that we know. Cap would probably puke seeing that, but you know what? I'm into it. Exactly. They'll get over it. Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Or it would be worth it. It would be worth it if my Final Four came in to have Captain wear a big Poppy jersey while eating a hot dog.
Oh my gosh. That's like even better.
That's way better.
That would be a feat. You could convince him to do it too, even despite the situation, because I think you guys are tight. I think you should do it. I'm rooting for your Final Four. I'm not even rooting for mine anymore. I want yours.
Yeah, we are kindred spirits. Captain is like the little brother I never wanted to have.
That's too good. That is, oh my God. Now we really are upping the ante. That's perfect. So I will write these down. Basically, your Final Four: Kentucky, Arizona, Louisville, and Gonzaga. Oh, baby. Chuck, man, let's do it. All right, man. Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that's great.
I love it. All right, well, let's say goodnight for now. We'll go transition to Tommy. Have a great night, buddy. Good to chat with you again, and good luck to your picks.
Thank you. You give Tommy in New Jersey my best.
All right, you got it. All right, Kevin on the Cape.
And tell him to eat a salad. He's looking a little chubby.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I am too. So I guess to be fair, I guess that goes for both of us. I'll be happy to. I'll let him know. Okay, so Kevin on the Cape here in the city. Good to have him back. Boy, we had some good juice this hour. So we will wait on the line now, and we will wait for Tommy to call in. He did call in, but he heard the two of us chatting, so we're gonna have to wait on him a little longer. We'll see how that goes, and away we go. You see, I gotta get a tablet. This is nuts. I need to. I can't write on my phone. I've been using and now he's gone again. So Tommy needs to chat on the phone with me. So we'll get him on in just a moment. We will get into the nuts and bolts of the upcoming the upcoming NCAA Sweet 16 and Elite 8 rounds. Very, very good stuff. I'm looking forward to that. So if you're with us tonight, again, we're at Ditkow, Dave in the City out west. That's who we are. We'll get Tom in New Jersey with us in just a moment, and then we'll get into the meat of the tournament. And this gets really good. And these matchups are great. Let's just run them down before we get Tom on. Here's what's to come in the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. First off, Kentucky against West Virginia. Now this one, I wouldn't sell West Virginia short. This is going to be interesting because West Virginia has been really tearing through teams with a good backcourt. I'm not fully convinced that Kentucky's going to cakewalk this, but they might cakewalk it. But I mean, they are really good. But we'll see. Up next, Notre Dame, Wichita State. And this one really, really has me interested because you're talking about teams that can shoot the three. You got teams, and then you got one team that doesn't really play that well defensively, Notre Dame, and another one that plays really well defensively, Wichita State. Wichita State does not have the backcourt. Notre Dame has a very good backcourt. They have Jarian Grant, they have Pat Connaughton, and then that guy, name I keep forgetting, Steve Vastoria, who looks like he's 8. He made, I think it was he who had a big night against Butler in the game that went to overtime in the previous round. It was really good. And then he caught it with a block. So very good stuff. So now let's begin our previews of these games in earnest. We'll give you the rest of the matchups in a moment. Let's now introduce Tom in New Jersey to the program. Tom, mix in a salad, says the junk man. But other than that, how's it going tonight?
Pretty good, Dave. I'm still very upset about Villanova's performance. Very upset. I think Jeremy told you this. I've never been this pissed about a sporting event. I mean, you watch the team since November. We're dynamite the entire year, and then they just completely lay an egg. They shoot like a high school team. They show no guts, no moxie, no nothing. The entire team outside of 2 players played well. It's just a pathetic performance, Dave. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I was certainly hoping for a giant monologue in the spirit of Captain, where you were just ripping people left and right, yelling, throwing things. I was rooting for it, but I know you were that pissed that night. I mean that is unbelievable. Like they keep finding more creative ways to lose early in the tournament. I mean, I would be very upset myself if I was in your shoes. That's awful. I mean, there's no excuse. I know that NC State's backcourt is red hot. They have been on a roll. They're really doing well. But I can't imagine how you lose that game, especially being up the way that they were. So it's definitely a point of frustration. Did you hear Jay Wright's interview with Mike Ressessa today on The Fan?
No, and I'm glad I didn't because I heard a Villanova caller, I think it was yesterday, call into Mike and rip the Villanova program, and Mike is completely clueless about Villanova. He watches the team maybe 5 times a year, and he acts as if he's some sort of expert on the program when he's not. So he belittled the caller and was like, oh, so you could do a better job coaching the team than Jay, and the team lost 2 games. They ran into a hot team. Villanova shot less than 30%, and they still almost won the game. Does that say enough about how mediocre NC State was? The team shot less than 30%, and you still only won by a handful of points.
Yep.
That says a lot about NC State, and I don't expect them to play well in their next game. And it's just extremely frustrating when Jay Wright, it's year after year, the team gets extremely tight. They have the ball with 40 seconds left after a miracle turnover by NC State where they throw the ball away. Villanova's down 2. Jay Wright doesn't call a timeout when he's using his timeouts left and right, but doesn't think, hey, let me call a timeout here instead of a play. He doesn't do that. He lets his offense do whatever they want, and they have the worst shooter on the team that night shoot a 3. I know he's wide open, but there's still 20 seconds left, and Dylan Ennis chucks up a three. What is he doing? And what is Jay Wright doing not calling a timeout there? The most important possession of the entire year, and you have a guy who's extremely ice cold shooting the ball. And then at halftime, before that, he's saying he didn't want to. He thought the team was playing well and he wasn't going to change anything. Come on. This is why teams like Tom Izzo and Michigan State do well in the tournament, because they have a coach who gets it. Jay Wright doesn't get it. He doesn't know what he's doing in these tournament games. It's very frustrating watching him. He just as long as they play well on defense, he lets them do what they want offensively. And that's fine when you have a program like Duke. Coach K does the same thing. He lets the team do whatever they want offensively. But the difference is that team has All-Americans. They have players that are 1 year and done. Villanova doesn't have that. Villanova hasn't had a one-and-done player, Tim Thomas. They have players who stay all 4 years. They run a system. And when the system fails, Jay Wright has no clue what he's doing. Similar to Bill Self. I don't know how people see these guys that think they're unbelievable coaches. They have unbelievable systems. And then their systems fail and they don't know how to regroup. It's maddening watching this team play when they're not shooting well, because if they're not making the threes, game's over. They don't know how to do anything else, and they missed about 10 layups to go with that. Daniel Shefu played probably the worst game I've ever seen from a big man. Missed 3 layups and a dunk, and he played like an absolute pussy. It's sickening watching this team play in big spots. They find new ways to blow it every year. Last year, same thing. 2 years ago, same thing. 3 years ago, same thing. 4 years ago, same thing. Then 2009, they made it to miracle Final Four because Scotty Reynolds made a miracle layup against Pittsburgh to get to the Final Four, and then they get blown out by North Carolina. Enough.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I'm not going to say that I've been there necessarily with a college basketball, but that's rough. It's just tough to be a fan in a situation like that. And, it's like Georgetown, similar idea. Like, they just have no guts in the big games, in the big spot. It's just like, after a while, you really wish that the coach would just step up, do something one time, something like that. And Iowa State's a little tougher to explain. Iowa State was upset by UAB. We addressed it in the first hour as well. And that was a big upset, because I think Iowa State looked like a team that was starting to get together. They certainly didn't have a great season, but they were a team that you felt was well coached and it was had the system in place, an NBA style system, to get to serious places in the tournament. And they're losing the first game. I mean, that's just as bad. Let me ask you this. How would you compare these upsets? I mean, the Villanova upset is pretty bad. I agree. And you mentioned it from the top. Like, NC State's not really that great of a team, and they didn't even play that great in the game. So it's a rough spot. But comment a little bit about all the upsets. Like, which upsets were more inexplicable than the others from the last weekend?
Iowa State was a terrible job by me, because I knew Nang was not that good of a player. I had said to John in Connecticut, Checker, and Andy in Seattle, both telling them that he's not that good of a player, and then the big spot he failed. He did so last year in the tournament, and this year he was awful. I think he was like 4 of 16 or something like that. And it was just a miserable performance by Iowa State. So I ranked that one first. Let me think. The other 3 seed Baylor losing, that was obviously a big surprise too. But I think Iowa State was a little bit worse because Baylor, they have some good players, but they kind of struggled early in the year. So you kind of thought maybe they picked up late, but you could tell they had some weaknesses. Let me think. Went up to, and then Notre Dame almost losing. I mean, geez. But they found a way to win. That's the difference between what happened with them and a team like Iowa State or Villanova. They found a way to win the game. Good job by them. I was a little disappointed at Harvard. I thought they were going to win that game, and then the point guard missed that three at the end. That would have won it for them, and that was unbelievable. But good job on North Carolina, and then they rebounded well in the second round game, and now they're in the Sweet 16. So good job by Roy Williams. I'm trying to think what other upsets. Thursday was an unbelievable day.
Oh, it was.
I can't remember. A tournament day that was that good. And Villanova winning by 40 or whatever, and get my hopes up, thinking, "Wow, they're really playing well." And well, you know what happens.
Yeah.
But Thursday was absolutely unbelievable. I can't, especially the afternoon games. That was unbelievable.
It was amazing. There were 5 games decided by 1 point. At least 5 games decided by 1 point that day, and multiple games went to overtime. You had drama all over. UCLA against SMU. I had a feeling UCLA could win that game, and then the goaltending call on a 3. I've never seen a goaltend called on a 3 before, but I thought it was a good call by the letter of the law. I did. I'm probably one of a few people who feel that way, but seriously, that was nuts. That was bananas. Just plain nuts.
You actually thought that was goaltending, Dave? The ball had no chance of going in.
Yes, but it was over the cylinder.
Isn't that part of the rule?
No. I know that. I know that in the spirit of the rule, it didn't go in. It wasn't heading toward the basket, but it was over the basket.
There's no chance of going in, Dave.
You're right about that. I agree
Isn't
with you.
That part of the rule. At the end of the rule is it has to have a chance of going in. Otherwise, if you shoot it short, and it's 5 feet short, I guess that's goaltending too if it's online.
No, it's not 5 feet. If it's 5 feet short, then it would never be over the cylinder at that point, unless you're talking about 5 feet short in some weird direction. But this thing, while it had no chance. That shot had no chance. But it was shot in a way where the tip of the brim was hanging just underneath where the ball was at the time. The thing here is, I don't think you should make that call. You can't be deciding a game like
exactly.
that. That's the point. I mean, yes, I think the call is technically right, but why would you make that call? Like, who calls the goaltending on a 3?
I've never seen a goaltending on a 3, and also the referee was completely out of position making that call.
That's right. You're right.
I mean, why was he doing that? And that can't be reviewed. And even if that was reviewed, everybody's like, that would be changed. They don't have the balls to overturn something like that. And you could tell afterwards by the idiotic officiating committee chairman, whatever his name is, for his explanation, you could tell they weren't changing that rule because they're a bunch of clowns. They come up with all these theories for why the call was right, and it's just complete crap. That call never should have been made. And now UCLA, I think, has probably one of the best chances of the sleepers to get into the next round.
Oh, you're way right. It's very interesting. UCLA is going to play Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 round of the tournament, and I am giving him as good a shot as anybody in their respective Sweet 16 games. Seriously, I think Gonzaga is to be honest with you, I think Gonzaga is a pretty pedestrian team. And so one could say, well, they were like number 2 or number 1, but who did they play? In the beginning, they played good teams. They had a very good non-conference schedule. The rest of the season, it was like all the LMUs and the UC not Irvines, I'm sorry, the Pepperdines and what was it, St. Mary's, who wasn't even that good that year. I mean, that was a weak ass conference that they played in the WCC. And so they really haven't been tested. I don't even think they were tested much in the tournament, to be honest with you. So they need, I go to this a lot when it comes to looking at teams in the tournament. I'm not a college basketball expert at all. I don't know nearly as much as you do. I don't know nearly as much as John or Chris or Andy or any of those guys. I'm a complete clown with most of this stuff. But I do know that a lot of times in March, it falls down to who can step up in the backcourt. And Gonzaga's got Pangos. He's good. I don't know if he's on the level of Powell or Alford. So I think Gonzaga's going to win the game, but they're going to need to build up a pretty big lead to do this. Because I think if it's close, that team's going to get tight, and I think UCLA is going to find a way out of it.
I was very impressed. You just mentioned Alford. I was very impressed watching him play. I haven't seen him play that much this year because I'm not going to be staying up late to watch UCLA play, and I thought it was a bit of nepotism for why he was starting. But after watching him play against UAB, he's a better passer than I thought. And, man, he can really shoot, obviously, but he's a pretty good floor general, and he's a pretty good point guard. And I think if he plays like he did against UAB, they have a good shot of at least covering the spread. But I think they have a good shot of winning. I think they have a intent, but I think they have a good shot of winning.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if they won that game. I don't, like I said, I'm not going to make it an official prediction, but they could win that game. They have the tools to make it happen. The rest of their offense is atrocious, so that's their problem. But defensively, they're very solid. And you said it. I mean, Alford makes some sick shots. Like, he makes these great fadeaways. It is a beauty to watch him play. And Powell's certainly no slouch, and I've learned about him a little later. But that's a good backcourt. So seriously, I'm curious to see what Gonzaga is going to do to answer that. I know that generally speaking, they're a very good defensive team, but their biggest guy, we mentioned him in the last hour. I think it was Topinski. And I keep forgetting his name, but their biggest guy is a big guy, and so. But when it gets close, usually it's up to the backcourt to step it up. And it's kind of silly. It seems like a simplistic way to approach college basketball. But am I wrong? Who stepped up in the last round? Travis Trice over in Michigan State stepped up and really carried the team in their matchup against Virginia. Virginia was locking down everybody else, but he stepped up and made the plays. So it really is. It's a truism, but it seems to be it seems to work out in a lot of cases. So similarly, North Carolina, they got a nice backcourt. You've got Duke, they've got a good backcourt with Cook and Cook and the other guy. Forgot his name already. So sorry.
Well, Winslow's really playing well for Duke.
Oh yeah,
Winslow is playing unbelievable basketball right now. He's pretty much guaranteed himself like a top 5 pick in the draft if he keeps this up. He's been unbelievable, and I like the way Duke's been playing. I mean, Okafor is playing unbelievable too. And
I heard he didn't play so well in the last game, but overall he's had a good tournament. He's been playing pretty well.
It'll be interesting to see who's going to end up being the first pick between Towns and Okafor. I think it's, unless they have a really bad, what are they called? Draft group workout or whatever they're called, the workout that they do.
It's like the NBA combine or something?
It's like the NBA combine. Wherever they have that, unless they have a really bad combine, they're going to be pretty much the first and second pick. It's just a matter of what the Knicks or Minnesota want, what type of player they want, because Towns is clearly a better shooter than Okafor, but I think Okafor has better footwork, and I think he's definitely stronger than Towns too. So it'll be interesting. I'm as a Knicks fan, I'll be happy with either one.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong, assuming all things play out and there aren't any significant injuries. I think they'll both be pretty solid players for you. Okay, we'll stay in the South region. The other matchup is Duke versus Utah. Now we were just talking about Duke. We think that Duke's playing at a very high level right now, and I like him a lot. I don't think it's necessarily a layup with Duke, but Utah has not played anybody. They played Stephen F. Austin in the first round. That was pretty much going to be the test. And they gave him a little bit of a game, but Utah carried it out, and they just simply shut him down towards the end. That's how they win games. They're really good defensively, and they pound the paint. Except defensively, they seem to get out-rebounded on against any team with size. And Arizona has been whooping them around throughout most of their confrontations this year. And so there's 3 times I've seen, Oregon beat Utah. So then it wasn't 3 times, it was 2 times. But, man, Utah could be had. So I really think that Duke will take over that game, provided that Okafor can get it done on the defensive end. I think he will. And I think Duke's got that one going away. So your thoughts about Duke, Utah?
I think Duke wins easily. I don't know what the spread is, but I'd be shocked if it's less than 9. I think you just said it against the Arizona games. Utah didn't play well, and Arizona obviously has a ton of size with Stanley Johnson. So I expect Duke to win easily. I don't expect it to be much of a game. That Duke has a lot more talent, and they just give the ball to Okafor and Winslow. I think the game's could be over pretty soon.
Well, I'll tell you that, believe it or not, the spread for this game is Duke 5.5. That's it. 5.5.
Wow.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would have expected 10 on that one, but I guess that shows you, how closely.
I guess they like Utah.
Yeah, I suppose they do. I guess they're thinking that maybe Duke will get a little 3-point happy, and Utah can take advantage. I'm not seeing it. I think Duke's going to win that game, and easily. We'll see, but I think they are going to win that game fairly convincingly. Maybe 8 to 10 points, maybe more. That's what I'm thinking too. Oh, okay. So there you have it for the South. Let's move up to the East. We mentioned Michigan State just a moment ago, but let's start with NC State Louisville. Junkman likes Louisville in this matchup, and NC State, we already talked about them. They really aren't that great. They just got a little hot. They've had they had a little bit of fortune in the middle of their run, and now they're playing a much, much smarter team in Louisville. I'll take Louisville. I'm not necessarily going to take them with serious confidence because I think Louisville had a bit of a shaky year overall, but they cut, who was it? Chris Jones that they cut or they dismissed at some point. And from that point on, they have been rolling a little bit. They beat Virginia. They got into the tournament. They had a nice run. And here they are in the Sweet 16. So Pitino, always a good coach. Let's get your thoughts about NC State Louisville.
Louisville is doing better than I thought. I think I actually picked them to lose in the second round. But they played really well against Northern Iowa. Yeah, it was Northern Iowa, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so, Northern Iowa, yep.
Northern Iowa was actually favored in that game against Louisville. So I think the spread was 2.5. So I think the odds makers didn't think much of Louisville. And I haven't thought much of them all year. They can't really shoot. They just bully teams and get a lot of turnovers, do their typical Louisville type play style where they shoot a lot of threes, but they can't shoot this year, so it's not really helping. But I think it's going to be a very ugly game. I think both teams, it's going to be like a 52 to 48 type game until about 5 minutes left. It's going to be a very ugly game. I think Louisville's going to pull it out because of Pitino. And like I was saying before, coaches like Izzo and Pitino get their teams further than their ability. Neither Michigan State or Louisville has anywhere near as much talent as past teams that they've had. So I don't expect anything different from Pitino. I think they're going to make it to the Elite Eight, and for that program to make it to Elite Eight this year is unbelievable, considering they really only have one really good player and then a bunch of questionable players. And it just goes back to what I've been always saying. Coaching is big in these tournament games, and I know it's always about matchups, but if you have a top tournament coach, it helps a lot, obviously. And I think Pitino is the best at it.
He's quite a legend, I would say. If he's not already in the Hall of Fame, he will be very easily. He's been so good, and I will agree with you. You can't necessarily. I underestimated Louisville a lot. I underestimated them even more than you did. I picked UC Irvine to beat them in the first round because I thought that Ndiaye. I'm sorry, I don't know. But the big center they have was going to give him fits. Well, they did, but then they still wound up losing the game. So I certainly did not think Louisville would be in the spot, but you got to give them a lot of credit. Coaching, as you mentioned, goes a long way. So I'll pick him too, but we'll see. It's going to be a tough watch. All right, next matchup in the East, Oklahoma, Michigan State. And, it's interesting that you note that they're not as deep as they had been in years past, but I do have to give it up to Trice. He has really been something special. He was last year too, and here it is again with the Spartans. They're playing Oklahoma. Oklahoma did a decent job. I personally will take Michigan State in this matchup. I've been pretty high on them inexplicably this year for the tournament. Let's get your thoughts. Oklahoma, Michigan State, Tom.
I think Oklahoma could win this game. I think they might. I just like the way they're playing. They have good guard play, and I really like the way they played in their last game. I know they didn't play a great team, but they still won pretty well in the second half. Towards the end, they pulled away rather easily, I thought, and I thought their opponent was playing pretty well. But I think Michigan State, obviously, they're playing great. I mean, they should have won that Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin. They had that game won. I still can't believe they lost that game. And I can't believe – I know I'm going off, but I can't believe they lost. I mean, the committee chairman said that even if Michigan State had lost that game, there was not that if Wisconsin had lost that game, they were still going to be a 1 seed. I mean, what's the point of playing these conference championships and conference playoffs or whatever the hell they're called? If they keep conference tournaments, if they don't matter that much, what's the point of playing these? Even if you lose, you're still going to be a 1 seed. And in Duke's instance, they don't win the Big East, the ACC regular season, or the playoff, or the conference tournament, but they still get a 1 seed. I mean, what's the point in all this? If the seeding is just based on who you are. I mean, UCLA had no business making the tournament. I know they've done well, but geez. I mean,
I think no. I mean, many people have written off UCLA. I'll tell you what, though, they were not as bad as everyone else thought. I think they were better than people gave them credit for.
They didn't play anyone, though. They didn't beat anyone.
They beat Utah. They played Arizona tough for a while.
That's because they played them twice. That's the only good win they had.
They did look good, though. I mean, I think they gave it a bit of.
Yeah, but they didn't win.
They didn't. Well, you mean against Arizona? Yeah, they didn't win against Arizona. You're right. But going on the road and giving them that tough of a contest, they did have their chances in that game. I was watching that one.
You didn't win.
I know they didn't win, but look, I don't think they're good. I don't think they're a great team, but I think that even though people did not think they were good enough to actually make the tournament, I thought they still could have made some noise anyway, because I think they have tools that can make it happen. And clearly they were doing a good job on the defensive end, and they have two guys that are legitimately good players. And it proved itself out against SMU. I did pick them in the SMU game, which that's not relevant. But anyway, they're not that good. So you were one of the ones that were outraged when they made the tournament. You're like, how could they make it? How is Tulsa not
Dave, I wouldn't say outraged, because, I mean, so many teams get in. And
right.
If you can't be one of the 32 at-large teams, it's mostly your fault. It's more so the seeding than the teams that don't and do get in. I just don't understand how their chairman would be like, oh, well, Wisconsin win or lose is going to be a 1 seed regardless.
No, I agree with that. That's
bad. How is Arizona now 1 seed? I mean, have they watched them play? I mean, I don't get that either.
That's a good point.
And I'm a huge Villanova. I'm a huge Villanova fan, obviously, and I wouldn't have said anything if Arizona was a 1 seed over Villanova, because Villanova did not have a great non-conference schedule. And despite the fact that the Big East RPI was great, I think it was second or third, I think it was second of all the major conferences, they didn't have that great of they don't have a marquee team. And their marquee wins were against Georgetown and beating Xavier. And come on. I mean, Villanova did not, in my eyes, deserve to be a 1 seed over a team like Arizona, and Duke had no business being a 1 seed over Arizona, because they didn't win their regular season or their conference title. Was the ACC that much better than the Pac-12? Or I really don't think so. And The Pac-12 has been doing great in this tournament, so obviously the committee didn't do a great job. And it's year after year. It's like the little things. They find a way to screw things up when if they just did the obvious things, it would be so much easier for the bracket people. And when you have experts like Seth Davis wondering what they're doing and why a team like Michigan State is a 7 seed, I mean, you say, oh, well, Duke is a 1 seed because of the eye test. Well, why is Michigan State a 7? I mean, did you watch them in the Big East championship game, Big Ten championship game?
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. I mean, that's actually a good question. I mean, it's a simple question, but it really does have a far-reaching purpose. Do they watch the games? I don't know if they're really paying that much attention. And I'll tell you this. I mean, I can say it because I've been guilty of it too. It's a completely different ball game when you actually watch the team play versus just reading about the team. You'll get the gist, you'll get the concept of what they are and what they do, but you don't truly know how good they are until you see them. Like you gotta actually watch them play a game against somebody else. So that's how you truly know. So it's great. It's all good points there, Tom. Very good. Tom in New Jersey, our guest tonight for the NCAA Sweet 16 preview. Next up, we were just talking about these guys. Xavier against Arizona. Now let me ask you this. You're very familiar with the Big East. Do you find Xavier to be the real deal?
No, and I'm shocked they're in the Sweet 16 because Villanova had no problem beating them twice. And I've obviously seen Xavier play other teams besides Villanova, and I've liked the style that they play. Maybe Villanova is just a bad matchup for them, but I didn't think they had enough talent. But my God, I'm shocked that they're in the Sweet 16. And more credit to their coach. I mean, geez. The team I liked in the Big East, other than Villanova, to go far was actually Providence. And they were just absolutely awful in the first round game. I mean, they didn't even show up. But Xavier, no, I didn't think much of them.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't think they had much of a chance in this game, but to be in the Sweet 16, that's a great job for their program.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it in perspective, it is a great year for them, and so that's certainly what they could, pretty much everything they could have asked for. But Arizona's a tough get. I mean, how are you going to beat these guys? The only thing though I worry about, because Arizona's done this for years, they just continue to disappoint their teams when the heat really turns up in this tournament. So they can manage like the first round, second round, third round, whatever. But then they get to the Elite Eight and somehow they find a way to lose. They have not been to Final Four since 2001. Now, there's a lot of things behind it. Maybe the teams just weren't that good and they played other good teams like Wisconsin last year. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Wisconsin. That's a good, very good team. But I can't trust them. And I mean, and it's almost in a strange way why I picked them to win the whole championship, because I'm like, you know what? When I think, well, they're not going, I'm just, you know what? I'm just so fed up with them. I'm like, let me just pick them to win the championship. It just makes no sense. But I am very fed up with this team in the tournament, because this team is a great team. You mentioned it. I mentioned it. The committee missed it. They should be a 1 seed. I mean, you talk about a team that's got good players at every position, good players at almost every roster position. This is a great basketball team, and I just don't get it. I mean, Tarczewski, you have Johnson, you've got Hollis Jefferson. I mean, this is just those guys that you can depend on every particular part of the court. How could this team lose to Xavier, and yet somehow they might still do it? So, do you know what I mean with the Arizona and coming up short in the tournament? I mean, last year they were basically at home in their home region. You know, it's just hard to imagine.
What's the spread in the game, Dave? I'm going to guess it's the highest spread of any of the Sweet 16 matchups. That's
a great question. Well, first of all, let's put that in perspective. Kentucky's giving 13.5 to West You have, and then Arizona second. So Arizona Arizona is minus 10.5 against Xavier.
Yeah.
Minus 10.5.
I think I know we're supposed to be talking about the Xavier Arizona game, but I think West Virginia, with their bully type team and the fact that Kentucky doesn't do well with defensive rebounding, and West Virginia is very good offensive rebound, I think West Virginia is going to make it a sloppy game in the first half. And I think if Kentucky gets down 6 to 8 points, it could get dicey in the second half, especially if the point guard isn't making the right decisions for Kentucky, because I don't think the Harrison brothers they're not great point guards. And I'm trying to remember the kid, the freshman point guard for Kentucky. He's like 5'9". Ulyss, or I think his name is Ulyss. If he's not playing well and not making the right decisions, I don't know. If they need to keep giving the ball to Towns, but he gets in foul trouble in almost every game, and I expect the same. But Kentucky, I expect to win, but I think West Virginia could easily cover that spread, and I think Huggins is going to go down fighting. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of technical fouls in this game, because West Virginia does not care. And similar to the Cincinnati game, where Cincinnati did not care, and they just bullied Kentucky in the first half. And what's scary is that Cincinnati played unbelievable in the first half, I thought, and they were still down, 8 at the half?
Mm-hmm.
So even Kentucky could play their C game and still win by double digits, as they proved last game. But I think West Virginia could give them a little bit of a scare. But back to Xavier, I'm not surprised there's a double-digit spread. Xavier doesn't have a single player that, let alone play in the NBA. I don't think that they have a single player that can play overseas. They're just gritty and gutty, as Andy in Seattle would say. But Arizona has legitimate NBA talent. Stanley Johnson's going to be a very good pro. I think even their point guard, he's got kind of like Aaron Kraft.
Yeah.
He's not going to make it. He's not going to play at the next level, but he knows what he's doing at this level. That's all that matters. And he makes all the right decisions. And he's kind of like a Mike Bibby type player. Obviously not as talented, but he makes the right decisions. And it's good that Arizona has a good point guard. They've had a lot of good point guards in the past with Stoudemire and company. But I just think Arizona's going to win easily. And to be honest with you, I'm more excited for the Elite 8 possible matchups than the Sweet 16 ones. Sweet 16 matchups, some of them are okay, but I mean, some of these games could be blowouts. The Xavier game could clearly be, Arizona might win that game easily. They probably will. Kentucky, they might find a way to pull it out at the end, but that could easily be a blowout too. There's a lot of these games could be blowouts. And the first weekend, everybody always says the first weekend is always the best. The Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and usually it is, but I think the Elite 8 matchups might be very good this year. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think we should spend some time on these potential Elite 8 matchups. Since after all, that's in the title of our podcast tonight. Now, let me ask you just this closing comment about Xavier, Arizona. If Arizona loses this game, is because they have no business losing this game. Is there any doubt from that point that Arizona is a choke? Because that would be the only conclusion.
Yeah. The only other game that would be a bigger choke would be Kentucky. But believe it or not, I could actually see West Virginia beating Kentucky, just from what I said before. But I can't see Xavier beating Arizona. That would be a pitiful job by Arizona. And Sean Miller's too good of a coach to let that happen.
That's what I think.
I just don't see it.
I hope you're right about that, because this is too good a team to lose this early. I don't think they will. I mean, they didn't even do that last year, but it's funny. Now, quickly on Wisconsin, North Carolina. Do you see North Carolina putting up a fight?
North Carolina has a lot of talent. They get a lot of McDonald's All-Americans. I think North Carolina is better than people think. I know they had trouble against Harvard, but Roy Williams even said after the game he got completely out-coached, and it was a miracle they won that game. But the difference is they did win that game, and that's all that matters. And they looked really good in their second-round game. I think Page is playing really well for them. I think North Carolina has a shot, but that's probably going to be another ugly game. College basketball is a big problem with these low-scoring games.
Yeah.
These coaches are totally killing this game. And if it weren't for Kentucky, this tournament would have no sex appeal whatsoever. And thank God for Kentucky, because otherwise I don't think many people are going to be interested in the Final Four. And if we get Duke, Kentucky, it's going to be an unbelievable final, but Kentucky better be there.
Yeah. And again, like it's true. Many people feel like Kentucky's good enough to make the final championship game. Now, it's pretty much championship or bust with this team, but more so it's Final Four or bust. If they do anything short of that, that is a major disappointment for their season this year, the way things have gone. So I'm pretty much with you. I mean, Kentucky makes this tournament. It makes the tournament as big as it is. Without Kentucky being this good or being in it, would we really have as much interest in it? Not quite. It wouldn't be drawing the attention of the casual fan. It wouldn't even be drawing the attention of most college basketball fans. So I'm with you there. Notre Dame, Wichita State. Bree, I'll just quickly give my thoughts here. I'm going to pick Notre Dame.
I think this is the best game.
Yeah, this is a very, very good matchup. I think you've got offense versus defense. You've got decent coaching all around. This is a good game. Your thoughts?
I think this is the best game. If I had to watch one game in the Sweet 16s, it would be this game. I think this is clearly the best game. I'm not sure what time it's on, but it's by far the best game of the Sweet 16 matchups, in my opinion. I expect Wichita State to win because they have more experience. But you mentioned Notre Dame before I came on. They're obviously a very good team.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a guy who could win National Player of the Year. I don't expect him to, but I think Kaminsky has it wrapped up. But Jarian Grant is obviously very good player, and he's going to be a very good player at the next level, I think, too. I'm not sure if he's not going to be an all-star in the NBA level, but I think he could be a solid two-guard. And I think Notre Dame obviously shoots the ball very well, but I think Wichita State, the point guard, he knows what he's doing. He's unbelievable. He gets a ton of press. He gets more press than anyone else on that team. But I actually like Baker more. He reminds me a little bit of, what's his name? Corver, just because of how he looks and how he shoots. But they're very, very talented, and they should have beat Kentucky last year. Kentucky played an unbelievable game, and Wichita State still almost won. I mean, I wish early for them played anywhere near as good as he did for them as he does with the Knicks, because he stinks with the Knicks.
Oh, that's too bad. Wow. And that is too bad.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't get that much time, and he's shown flashes, but he's nothing like he was with Wichita State.
He was electric.
Obviously, it's different. Yeah, I was a big fan of him. I was hoping the Knicks drafted everything that he did, but he's been a disappointment. But I think Wichita State's going to win this game. A lot of experience, and I usually go with the point guard play is huge in this.
Always.
In these type of games, and I think they have the edge.
Yeah, if I didn't already have Notre Dame going to the Elite Eight in my bracket, I probably would have just picked Wichita State personally, because I really think this team has got not only the experience, the coaching, the defense. They're a much better defensive team. Notre Dame is not a good defensive team, period. And I think Wichita State will out-rebound them in this game, if nothing else. I can guarantee you that. I think Wichita State beating them shouldn't be a shock. I don't think anyone will be shocked, but I'm just saying it shouldn't be either.
How's your bracket doing, Dave? I haven't looked at my bracket, and I know I'm out, but I haven't looked at the standings at all. So I don't know who's in. You probably know who's in the lead. Who's got the best shot of winning our bracket?
Yeah, there's a guy named Mike in the lead, and I think it's Jersey Mike 7 on Twitter because he's really good with college basketball. And Featured's right behind him, and I'm like 19th. But my entire Final Four is still alive, so I feel like I'm in good shape.
Oh, is it? Yeah, you have a shot. If you have your final, I have Villanova who's out, and I had Iowa State who's out, so I'm done.
Wow.
And picking Kentucky to win it all is pointless because that pretty much everybody did. And you know who's done really well in our bracket the last 2 years? I think this is the third year I've done the bracket. Utter disaster.
Oh.
Lou in Hoboken. He won it 2 years ago, and last year I'm pretty sure he came in second, and he was pissed about it because he didn't win. But it's winner take all this year, so I don't know how he's doing this year, but I was expecting him to do well again this year, but I don't think he is. But maybe you could tell me in the standings with him, but I think he's out. But good job by V-Tread. I still need a few people to pay. I know you have paid. I'm pretty sure you have.
No, I haven't.
But,
I was just about to ask you, like, is there money? Because you mentioned the payout. I'm like, oh, I think I owe you money because I never did pay. How much is it?
It's $20, and Dave, I'm not worried about you paying. It's some other slackers.
Brett, is it Brett?
Who don't pay.
And I'm just kidding.
It's only $20. I mean, it's not like $100 like the fantasy football league. So I can understand some people having trouble paying the $100, but $20, just get me the money. I don't care how you get it. Get me the money. If you don't want to do PayPal, send it to me by check. I'll be pissed, but at least I have the money.
There you go.
I got clowns like I have clowns like Jeremy, who I know is listening right now, who refuse to do PayPal, but he's a clown for not doing PayPal because he thinks he was hacked because of PayPal, which is complete bullshit. Because we all know PayPal is pretty secure. But just give me the money. Whoever owes me money. I know I think there's like 6 or 7 people who still owe me money.
Wow. Well, I'm one of them, but I'll take care of that tonight. I'll do that tonight.
And I had one person who was begging me to do the bracket, and he didn't submit his bracket.
What?
He didn't make the deadline, so he got 0 points.
Oh, that is.
So I'm not gonna have him pay. I'm not gonna have him pay the $20 because he didn't do a bracket. So I feel bad. So I guess he just doesn't count.
Wow,
that's unbelievable, right?
Unbelievable, and a terrible job, especially after him and Hammond like that. Unbelievable.
I know. I've known him since high school, and I haven't talked to him in years. And he wrote on my Facebook, being like, "I'm in." And then I had Jeremy tell me at Buffalo Wild Wings, he's like, "Who's this Ryan dude?" And I'm like, "It's from high school." Why? He's like, "He didn't submit a bracket." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's getting 0 points."
Oh my gosh!
Like,
wow.
And then I think Jeremy was like, "Oh, he should pay the $20 anyway." I'm like, I'm not gonna have to pay $20 when he didn't even do a bracket.
I know. That's pretty rough, man. So, well, we have about a minute left. So, Tom, just to close, what are your possible favorite matchups in the Elite Eight? Like, which matchups do you think would be fun? I mean, let's get Wisconsin, Arizona out of the way already. I mean, we know that's going to be an awesome game. So, in addition to that, what would you like to see in the Elite Eight?
Kentucky, Wichita State. I want a rematch of last year. I think that would be a great matchup. And I think I know a lot of people are going to think Wichita State has a shot in that game because of what they did last year. And I think they would have a good shot. I think Kentucky, they're not. Everybody's making it seem like they're the best team ever. If they played 85 Georgetown or Houston from those great Clyde and Hakeem years, they would get killed by them, in my opinion. I just think the talent level is so bad in college basketball right now that I think Kentucky having all the size and whatnot makes them a great team.
60 seconds.
I don't consider them an all-time team. I think they could get beat. So we'll see.
Yep, we'll see indeed. Tom, it's been a blast. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It was really a good time. Have a good time watching the games. It's going to be fun. A lot of stuff on the line in your bracket and elsewhere. So, Tom, let's do it again sometime. Oh, did this go? Oh, yeah. Tom, let's do it again sometime.
Thanks for having me on, Dave.
You got it, buddy. Take it easy. All right. That's Tom from New Jersey. That's our show. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Thanks to the Junkman as well. Enjoy the games, and we'll see you next time.
10 seconds.